Today in Algebra 1, we talked about multi-step equations. Multi-step just means more than one. So we're adding on a few steps to what we did already when we were talking about two-step equations. You need to keep in mind the goal, which was always to isolate the variable or get the variable by itself. Remember, the variable is just the letter. We needed to remember the golden rule, which was what you do to one side of the equation, you do to the other, meaning the other side of the equal sign. And now our steps for working out these problems are number 1, to distribute. So that would be multiplying when there's parentheses. Step 2, combine your like terms. Step 3, add or subtract. And that's depending on what's already going on. And 4, multiply or divide. Again, depending on what's already going on. The purpose of these two steps is to undo what has already been done. Okay, those are the inverses. We need to look at a couple of examples. Example number 1 is 6x plus 3 minus 8x equals 13. There's nothing to distribute because there's no parentheses. The 6x and the negative 8x are like terms. 6 and negative 8, when I add those together, make negative 2x. Remember, there's negative 8 on this team and 6 on this team. The negatives win by 2. Plus 3 equals 13. Now, the next step after combining is to add or subtract. X is being added by 3, so the opposite would be to subtract 3 from both sides. Over here we have negative 2x. On this side we have 10, because 13 minus 3 is 10. And last, we're asked to multiply or divide. It's being multiplied by a negative, so the opposite is to divide by negative 2 on both sides, and x equals negative 5. Let's look at a few more examples. Example number 2, 4 times x minus 2 in parentheses plus 2x equals 40. These problems look more complicated than what we did last week. There is a set of parentheses here, so we need to distribute. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Remember that this 4 is being multiplied because they're right next to each other, so we multiply on each step when we're distributing it out. Then we have plus 2x, which is just carried on down, equals 40. 4x and 2x are like terms, so that makes 6x minus 8 equals 40. I've combined. Now I need to add or subtract. It's being subtracted by 8, so the opposite would be to add 8 to both sides. And 6x equals 48. Finally, x is being multiplied by 6, so the inverse would be to divide both sides by 6. And x is equal to 8. And that's my final answer. Remember that I could always plug back into the original, plug in 8 right here, and I should get the answer of 40 if my multiplication is correct. Let's look at some more examples. I better grab another sheet of paper. Example number 3. 9 equals 6 minus x plus 2. In this case, I have parentheses, so there needs to be some distribution. I'm distributing the negative, or the negative 1. So I'm going to copy down the 9 and the 6. Negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Combine my like terms. My like terms are the numbers in this case, 6 and negative 2, which makes 4 minus x. Carry everything else down. Next, 4 is positive, so to get rid of it, I'm going to subtract it from both sides. That's the opposite. And 5 equals negative x. We never want a negative variable, so we're going to flip both sides, and x equals negative 5. The last example that we want to do is a little bit different. It's actually a two-step equation, example 4. And that two-step equation to begin with is 9 minus 6x equals 45. And then I want to ask you to find x minus 4. Let me get that all in view for you. There you go. X minus 4. The first thing I'm going to do is solve for x in the first equation. To do that, I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides, because I always do my adding and subtracting first. I carry down the negative 6x. 45 minus 9 is 36. Now next to x is being multiplied by negative 6. The opposite is to divide by negative 6. And x equals negative 6. Now, I was asked to find x minus 4. So in for x, I can plug negative 6 because that's what it equaled. Subtract 4, and I get negative 10. So I have two answers. One is that x equals negative 6, and the other is negative 10. Your assignment on this is a worksheet. If you have questions, be sure to let me know.